In fact, we'll go across live to the Rajya Sabha where there's a debate going on the law and order situation in Delhi. Let's go across and listen to what's happening.
I'm not getting it.
Some amount of radical romancing can also take place in academic institutions. But the core question is, and I regret to say that even Azad Saab has dealt with it only in one casual sentence. Are we going to give respectability to those whose primary ideology is that they want to break this country? After all, what has happened in the case of two persons alleged to be involved in terrorist actions and convicted by the highest court. You had the Bombay case, 12th March 1993. Our fairness of the system was that not only did the accused get a fair trial, he got at least several rounds of appeal, review, corrective petitions before the Supreme Court. He even got the facility of midnight hearings, which many of us would not have got. So the system went out of the way to accommodate a person against whom a grave charge was that he had blasted the city of Bombay and killed hundreds of people. Can anybody say that his martyrdom should be celebrated? Sir, let us be very clear about the kind of functions which were organized in Hyderabad and also in JNU. What was the function that was eventually, what was the program in the Jawaharlal Nehru University? So unless we address that issue, a circular is taken out, and two of our very distinguished members, Yachuri ji and Shri D.P. Tripathi, have been former presidents of the student unions. They are more familiar with that university than I am. It has thrown up many scholars, no doubt. It should evolve as an institution of excellence. Nobody wants to campaign against such a campus. A pamphlet is taken out, and I would like particularly the Congress. The Congress has a history of never having supported the fringe. You are a mainstream party. You have ruled this country more than any other political party. How was that meeting? And I am not getting into disputed tapes and all this. Here is a group of people who call for this cultural program on the 9th of February. The pamphlet and the poster is titled, "A Country Without a Post Office." No, at least our conscious, Sitaram, our conscious can react differently to this. कि इस देश की ये हालत कर दो कि इसका पता आता ना रहे, अता पता ना रहे, a country without a post office. और एक कंट्री विदाउट ए पोस्ट ऑफिस के जो पैम्फलेट निकलता है, और इसको कोई डिस्प्यूट नहीं कर रहा, ये दीवारों पे चिपकाया जाता है, अ कंट्री विदाउट अ पोस्ट ऑफिस. उसकी भाषा ये है कि जुडिशियल किलिंग ऑफ अफजल गुरु एंड मकबूल भट्ट, 6-6, 8-8 राउंड सुप्रीम कोर्ट के सामने मिले. Please allow me to complete. We didn't interrupt you, Sita, so let's be fair in the debate. Judicial killing. And I regret to say that I read a statement today by a very distinguished former colleague, actually adding respectability to this charge of judicial killing, that the judges decided wrongly to execute him. People belonging to mainstream don't make these such statements. a cultural evening to protest against what is the history of forcible occupation of Jammu Kashmir. The circular says this. We can censor the whole debate and then ignore the real facts and then say academic freedom is in peril. No academic freedom will ever be in peril in this country. Now, on this, a pamphlet is circulated justifying this. And that pamphlet, I regret, is more against the government which the UPA led, the Congress historically led. The kind of language which is used, Kashmir did not belong to Nehru, nor does it belong to Manmohan's and Modi's in recent times, who keep flaunting this inalienable crown to the whole world. They are consciously invisible as to how the occupation of territory has taken place through might and judicial and brutal force. Then it speaks about the right of self-determination. Then it speaks about today in Tihar jail, 2 graves lie in desolation. Maqbool Bhatt and Afzal Guru. This is the meeting of the 9th. When the university realizes that it can't be held,
no, let him complete. Raja, let him complete. Raja, let him complete. Don't interrupt.
Sir,
let him complete.
I am conscious of a rule of procedure that when a case is pending in court, we don't argue because we may create a prejudice against the accused. And therefore, I do believe that every student, including those whose names are there, the names of the people they are here on this circular, each one of them, I don't want to prejudice their trial also by naming them. 2 of them have been arrested. Some others the police is looking for. And they all belong to an ultra-left philosophy. If you want evidence against the name you took out, I can give it, but it will unnecessarily prejudice his fair trial, which is not my intention. Notwithstanding the ban, this function is held. Some other people also come, बाहर से आते हैं नकाब पहनकर, और नकाब पहनकर जब आते हैं और एक अल्ट्रा लेफ्ट माओइस्ट और एक सेपरेटिस्ट, और ये कोई 10-20 फ्रिंज नहीं था, ये संख्या सैकड़ों में बन गई, और नारे क्या लगे? कश्मीर की आजादी तक, भारत की बर्बादी तक जंग चलेगी, जंग चलेगी। भारत के टुकड़े टुकड़े इंशाअल्लाह, इंशाअल्लाह। The pamphlets which they have circulated, which nobody is denying, just bear a complete evidence. What is the police supposed to do? Now, whether this person, Raja Sabha names, wrongly went there, his intention was different, that's all for investigation to come out. I'll keep his case out. Let us not, he's entitled to a fair trial. Of course, what happened in Patiala House is condemnable. But vandalism is condemnable, sedition is free speech. Nobody can subscribe to this ideology, and least of all should ever the Congress party subscribe to it. Of course, vandalism should be condemned. The accused are entitled to a fair trial. Nobody should hold demonstrations in court. But at the same time, what is the factual matrix? In one university, it is the alleged martyrdom of Yaqub Menon. In the other university, it is the martyrdom day of Afzal Guru. और यचूरी साहब, अफजल गुरु किस चीज का प्रतिनिधित्व करता था हम सब जानते हैं। वो मनुवाद और ब्राह्मणवाद और पूंजीवाद के खिलाफ संघर्ष का प्रतिनिधि नहीं था कि अफजल गुरु की शहादत के दिन हम मनुवाद और पूंजीवाद के खिलाफ नारे लगाएं। और इसलिए आप याकूब मेनन का कार्यक्रम करें और डॉक्टर अंबेडकर का फोटो लगा दें, उससे वो कोई माओवादी अंबेडकरवादी नहीं बन जाएगा। आप अगर अंबेडकर साहब के विचार इन विषयों पे जानना चाहते हैं तो लेट अस जस्ट सी व्हाट डॉक्टर अंबेडकर हैज टू से। उनके जितने भाषण हुए, शायद सबसे प्रभावी भाषण था जो 25 नवंबर 1949 को उन्होंने दिया। Each one of his interventions is in golden words. 26 तारीख को संविधान स्वीकार हुआ, 25 को जब पूरा संविधान तैयार हो गया था तो he moved the motion. Now we remember his speech only for, you quoted it, till political democracy becomes social democracy and economic equality, egalitarianism, he said that. But he said two other things in that speech also. Now, let me first of all concede, and I'm not doing it only for this because we've all studied history. The Communist Party of 1949 and the Communist Party of 2016, there is a sea change of an evolution. In 1949, you were a part of the Telangana struggle. Things have evolved since then. But Dr. Ambedkar was speaking in 1949. So what he said in 49 about the communists, probably amongst the Maoists who take that attitude and amongst other radicals, that still holds good. तो इसलिए कोई अलगाववाद की बात करे और उनका नाम ले ले. And I quote Dr. Ambedkar. When he framed the Constitution and gave it, he said, the condemnation of the Constitution largely comes from two quarters, the Communist Party and the Socialist Party. This was in the 1949 context. Why do they condemn the Constitution? Is it because it is really a bad Constitution? I venture to say no. The Communist Party wants a constitution based upon the principle of dictatorship of the proletariat. They condemn the constitution because it is based upon parliamentary democracy. The socialists want two things. The first thing is that they want that if they come to power, the constitution must give them the freedom to nationalize or socialize private property without payment of constitution. The second thing is that they want the fundamental rights mentioned in the Constitution, and this is important, the fundamental rights mentioned in the Constitution to be absolute, without any limitation. So that if their party fails to come to power, they would have the unfettered freedom of not merely to criticize, but also to overthrow the state. These are their main grounds on which the Constitution is being condemned. Now, what are, let's forget 1949. I know for a fact that the CPM today, the CPI today, as mainstream communist parties are very much a part of the parliamentary democracy as we are. I'm not addressing them. But now if from 1949 you translate what Dr. Ambedkar said about the Maoists, they want an absolute right of free speech, not reasonable restrictions, so that they can use the Constitution in order to overthrow the parliamentary system because they don't believe in it. And that is precisely the reason that this misconceived argument has arisen. Let us concentrate on vandalism, which is terrible, but at the same time, in the name of academic freedom, sedition must become a part of free speech. Can hate speech ever be free speech? Obviously, it can't be. Can you have free speech to say, I have a right to break this country into pieces? भारत के टुकड़े टुकड़े, और जब तक टुकड़े टुकड़े नहीं होगी, जंग होगी. अब आप संविधान को देखिए जो डॉक्टर अंबेडकर ने बनाया. in the Constitution itself, when he says in 19(1)(a) freedom of expression, what does he say as a restriction in 19(2)? Sovereignty of India, integrity of India, public order. These are a part of the reasonable restrictions which Pandit Nehru, Dr. Rajendra Babu, Dr. Ambedkar, they all put into the Constitution. And therefore, if in a prime campuses, all right, let's forget the controversy of the state. Nobody has denied that program, that in Jadavpur University, they weren't saying Brahmanwad se azadi, Manipur mange azadi, Kashmir mange azadi, Mizoram mange azadi, Gilani mange azadi, Afzal Guru mange azadi. The question is, does the Indian constitutional order allow this or not? And now to say that this kind of an act must go and be ignored by the state. Yes, Azad Sahab, if there is a fear of war with its own self, it's a war on the territory of India. Let us forget the idea of India, it's the geography and the territory of India which is being attacked today. Who lives if India doesn't survive? And therefore it is the territory of India. And if you go back to Dr. Ambedkar's speech, और मैं चाहूंगा बहन जी आप निश्चित रूप से इसको एक बार पढ़ लीजिए, उसी भाषण में डॉक्टर अंबेडकर कहते हैं कि आज में जो लोकतंत्र दे रहे हैं हम लोग, और इस देश को खतरा किससे है? उनका इस देश का इतिहास है कि इस देश के इतिहास में भीतरी ताकतें इस देश को तोड़ने का प्रयास करती हैं। जयचंद ने कैसे तोड़ने का प्रयास किया? जब शिवाजी लड़ाई लड़ रहे थे तो कैसे कुछ मराठा मुगलों के साथ चले गए? जब सिख लोग लड़ाई लड़ रहे थे तो कैसे गुलाब सिंह दूसरी तरफ चले गए? और फिर वो मिलकर, these are all a part of his 25th November 1949 speech, that how these people, and therefore India will be at war with itself, in the words of Ghulam Nabi Sahab, if these people... Sir, I remember sitting in the same chair as you for 5 years. In Chhattisgarh, the Maoists came and killed 73 CRPF Jawans. And everybody said, Mr. Chidambaram was the Home Minister should resign. And if you look up the record, I spoke from the same chair and said, why Mr. Chidambaram should not resign? Because the moment he resigns, he gives Maoists a sense of victory. That was my speech sitting there. And therefore, कम से कम इस इशू पे तो आप हमारे साथ होते। मुझे खेद है